What's the YouTube? Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you the 60 card concoction that is SwordSoul, Tenyi, and Ryuji's. So, the fact of the matter is, all these decks have great synergy together. The Ryuji's can lead you into the SwordSouls, or the Tenyis if you want to. The SwordSouls can work them ways with the Tenyis to give you more synchro access. The Ryuji's will set you up protection from stuff like Nibiru by being able to give you a Varudras very early doors from one card. It just kind of works and synergizes so incredibly well together. The only downside is, in order to play all of them, you need to put it in a 60 card deck and still have space for hand traps or board breakers. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you concoction and what happens when you put all of these together. The idea is what you need to try and achieve is try and bridge everything to the others and not have anything rely too specifically on one or the other. What I mean by that is SwordSouls can technically function on their own. Tenyis can function on their own, and so can the Ryuji's. When you're bringing them together by utilizing one or two card combos all within their own in archetypal elements, that's when you're going to start opening up the door to more abilities. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to dive headfirst into profile, show you what we've got, and explain why we've got it, starting off with SwordSouls, into Tenyis, and then into the Ryuji's. So for the SwordSouls, you're going to want to max out on these where at all possible, bar the tire. So you're going to be playing triple Moyi alongside triple Ecclesia, triple Long One, and then double tire. Now, you could, if you really wanted to, cut tire down to one, but the idea is you still want to be seeing tire. You still get utilization out the tire. Yes, you can get to tire through the SwordSouls. Yes, you can get to tire through Tenyis, and you can get through to it via the Ryuji's. But if you don't open up a path through that particular route, you still need the ability of opening up a SwordSoul monster in order to make your plays tick. If you hard open up the Ryuji's, which is why we're focusing so much on getting into or getting direct access to the Misva, that's when you're going to start to utilize everything else in between. So then, of course, we're playing triple emergence, so obviously these are going to act as more copies of your starters in the form of the Moyi and, of course, the starter of the tire. Followed up by the one blackout, and then kind of like the bridge card that annoyingly both Ryuji's and SwordSouls can directly search is, of course, your arch nemesis, Protoss. Then moving into the Tenyis themselves, playing triple Saruya. Now, obviously, I'm still waiting on 2 more copies, so apologies for that one. But you want to max out on this one because as long as you control a worm, you can summon itself down. And, of course, it's going to get the ability that if it's used for the synchro material of a worm monster, you special summon a Tenyi Link monster. And straight away, that's going to give you the maintained ability of having a non-effect on the board so that all of your Tenyi cards, when they hit the graveyard, are going to have their secondary effects. And one thing a lot of people forget is you can actually banish the Tenyis from the hand to utilize their effects as well. Ideally, you want to hard open up one of your Tenyis so that acts as your first special summon before you start locking yourself into having effect monsters on the board or controlling effect monsters or you name it. But the idea is if you don't hard see them, you can then still utilize them as effects from the hand. Speaking of which, of course, triple Ashuna. This is the most important Tenyi, second to Saruya. And then double Vishuddha, double Adhara, and one Shafana. Now, the idea behind all of these is these are the cards that if you do open up something like an Adhara, you're going to burn, an Ashuna, you're going to burn through them in combo anyway, get them to the graveyard where they need to be. They're not the ones you really want to be hard opening up on their own in a 60 card version. They're ones you kind of want to get to the graveyard, banish them, or if you do hard open up, you want to get a non-effect to the board and then banish them from the hand. So it's a little bit less reliant on them, and that's why we're kind of utilizing twos, and a 1 of that. Then for the other Tenyi cards, we are playing the one Flawless of Perfection, Offer the Tenyifinity, Vessel for the Dragon Cycles, and Heavenly Dragon Cycle. Now, if you wanted to, you can very easily cut out the Tenyifinity and the Flawless Perfection, and what you'd be doing if you did decide to go down that route is you would take these out and you'd put in one generic field spell that you feel is going to be incredibly powerful in a particular matchup. Whether that be Necro Valley, Summon Breaker, Secret Village of the Spellcasters, if you're able to make a Spellcaster, that gives you that option. What I liked about this is the Tenyifinity can lead you into the Vessel. This can come off the back of a card from the extra deck, being the brand new Mula Adhara. And then, of course, this leads you into Flawless Perfection, which gives you 2 draws as well. So you'll be able to set up a deck fin ability. You'll be able to set up a Foolish Burial. You'll be able to set up a Searcher or a Summoner. It gives you loads of different routes to work around. And they're all accessible through a card in the extra deck, which means it's as consistent as it could possibly be. Then for the Ryuji's, of course, you want to max out on the Misva. Yes, of course, you could play less if you wanted to, but the idea is that Misva is the most important one because even though you can search out the field spell in the form of the War Zone directly through the Mula Adhara, if you don't have the Misva in rotation, you're not going to be able to get your monsters to the board to build up from there. So you really want to get to the misfire, which is why we're maxing out on routes to get to it. Of course, it's a dragon, not a worm, so you can't directly search this off of the back of Emergence. Big sad. So it's one of the ones that the only way you're going to be able to get access to it will be off the back of the Ryuji Rising, which is why you're maxing out on this as well. Of course, this can get you to the worm if you already open up the misfire, and then that worm can be utilized as discard fodder or reveal fodder for all of your starters. The best thing about the entire Ryuji line is the entire Ryuji line can set you up a Varudras, but can also work its way into the ability of getting a tire directly from the deck, because you can get access to a Barastos, you destroy the Barastos, and then that will allow you to summon out the tire from the deck, so you haven't even conducted your normal summon, and then you push on from there. Speaking of which, we are playing the one Ryuji Warzone. The reason for this one is it's so incredibly easily searchable, and on its own, it's not going to get you a lot to utilize anything. Yes, it will allow you on its own to take a Dino, Sea Serpent, or Worm from the deck and add one, banish one, send one, but you won't be able to special summon them if you don't have Misfire face up in the extra deck. So yes, of course, it's a nice little add, but I'm not really going to want to be relying on that so heavily. I kind of want to bury it. You could play 2 off of it if you wanted to, but even then you have the flexibility that this is like the last field spell you leave on the board. You've got the ability to resolve the route to Varudras twice if you need to, but honestly, you don't need to go for Varudras. Once you spawn out the 3 monsters and you're going second, that should be enough for an OTK. Speaking of the 3 monsters, we are playing 2 Kaiva, 2 Ember, and the 1 Hakva. Now, of course, Hakva does have a good utility of being able to discard itself if you do hard open it, but the idea behind this is you have so many different worm replacements in the deck, you don't need to be clogging down on this. You still kind of want to have 2s of these, because if you hard open up, if you only played 1 of them and you hard open them up, you wouldn't be able to utilize the Warzone, and it completely kills the engine. So the idea is you're going to bury them in a 60 card deck, and you don't really want to be seeing them at all. Then, of course, we've got the 1 Barastos, which is the bridge that the Ryujis work its way into, and then you destroy the Barastos over the back of the Misfire, and then that will lead you into a tire. So it just gives you that ability to bridge, rather than directly searching and using up your normal summon, you actually work your way into a Barastos, get the Barastos to the board, destroy it, get the tire, and then work from there. We've then got 1 of each of the realms, so of course you've got the Worm Winds, you've got the Dino Domains, and you've got the Sea Spires. Obviously all of these give you the ability to recycle the Ember, the Hakva, and of course the Kaiva. And then of course they're great utilities to be face up on the board. More so this one, because this one will give all of your level 10 worms when you bring them out from the extra deck, Synchro level 10s, the ability to spin back a continuous one to reduce an opponent's attack to 0. And then on top of that as well, this one has the continuous floating effect that any card sent to the graveyard during your opponent's turn is banished instead. Then for the hand traps, you've got triple Imperm, triple Ash. So you want to like higher impact staples as much as possible. Main deck of the double droll, but this could, triple droll. This could very easily be board breakers in the form of Forbidden Droplet if you wanted to. Double Veiler, and then double Pot of Prosperity. Again, flexibility if you want to, but the idea is that I wanted at least 1/6 of the deck, which is a little bit over 1/6 of the deck, to be hand traps. And then the remainder of that, you've probably got like between 15 to 20 cards per engine of Ryujis, Tenyis, and SwordSouls, each in their own right, taking up the rest of the space in the deck. So the ideal scenario was that 15 would be SwordSoul, 15 would be Tenyi, 15 would be Ryujis, and then the remaining 15 cards of the deck will be utility cards in the form of stuff like Desires and Hand Traps, which gives you that ability to interact with your opponent as well if you are going second. So they can very easily be board breakers if you wanted to go down that route as well. It gives you a bit more freedom to play around with it, and it's one of these ones that you can smash them all together, make a 60 card deck that will work, but then if you're like, you know what, I think it's a little bit too much, and then you can go, right, SwordSoul with Ryujis, SwordSouls with Tenyis, it really is up to you, gives you a bit more flexibility. Before I get into the extra deck, shout out to Rager Trader 64, I believe it is. It was on Instagram. I bought these absolutely years ago now when SwordSouls first dropped. These are where I get my custom tokens from. I'm not sure if he's still in rotation. If he is, I'll try and put the link in the description below. If not, I believe you can also get these tokens from somewhere on Etsy as well. They're really kind of cool, very good quality, these ones, thick hard cardboard, and then they're like full art prismatic, so really do like these, so shout out there. Moving on to the extra deck, so for the Link monsters, very straightforward and simple on this one. We've got 2 Monk of the Tenyi, 1 Shaman, and then 1 Shisara. And then moving on to the Synchros, probably work from the 10s. Let's just go with the XYZ. So the 1 XYZ we've got is the Varudras. Now keeping in mind, this can actually be utilized even if your opponent slows down your route through your Ryujis, because you actually make level 10 Synchros quite naturally. So level 10 Synchros that we'll make is the Ice Jade Argerine. Now I know not a lot of people are sold on this card. I think this is just really great for the Malice matchup because your cards can't be banished. So it means it's very, very difficult for them to kind of clear off your big boss monsters, and then you're causing them more issues. The other question I got was where the water tuner comes from. Well, the tokens are actually water tuners, so just as a heads up, that's where it comes from. So this plus a level 6 will get you into your Ice Jade. The other level 10s is the Sinister Sovereign alongside the Tenyi. And then for our level 9s, we've got the Chao Feng. You don't really need to rely on this so heavily. It's just one of the routes. If you don't open up Varudras and you really do fear Nibiru, you go into a Chao Feng play. And then, of course, we've got the one, Mula Adhara. So this one, as previously mentioned in the last profile, if it is synchro summoned with 2 or more worm monsters are in your graveyard and or banishment, you get to add a field spell from the deck to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. And then while a non-effect monster is on the field, this card gains the following effects. It can't be destroyed by opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot target it with card effects, and it can make a second attack during each battle phase. The benefit of something like this is you can very easily banish a worm from the deck, being the Hakvar, or send a worm from the deck, being the Hakvar, off of the back of the Ryujis. And the benefit of that is when you're starting to utilize cards by sending them from hand to the grave or deck to the grave, you can then start looping back your Sea Serpent Ryuji. And if you're banishing cards as well, which you'll also be able to do with the Tenyis, you can actually start looping back your Hakvar. So you'll be able to get those level 10s in rotation a lot more. And then, of course, we've got 2 Baxia, 1 Draco Berserker, and then 2 Chi Zhao. Of course, you can play a Yazi if you wanted to as well. There's a little bit of flex space in the extra deck, but predominantly you want your extra deck to be the most effective part. And what I mean by that is these are the cards that no matter what you open, Ryujis, Tenyis, or even SwordSoul, you'll be able to access. The only cards you won't be able to access if you do open up a Ryuji and you go down the Ryuji line will, of course, only be your Ice J, because it's an Aqua, it's not a Dragon, Dino, Sea Serpent, or Worm, but that gives you a little bit more flexibility. And this one, like I said, is only for the Malice matchup. If you know you're against Malices, you'd go down this route, and this will cause them a lot of issues because not a lot of people will actually think about this card even existing. They'll read it once or twice, and then they'll probably still try and banish your card, and you'll be like, yeah, you can't because of Ice Jade. So one of them ones that I think catches a lot of people off guard, but if you want to be a little bit more set in your ways and go for something like a Yazi, by all means you can do very easily. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for the profile. So SwordSoul, Tenyi, Ryujis, or Ryuji, SwordSoul, Tenyi, however you want to call it. I just really liked all 3 of these archetypes, and the fact we got brand new Tenyi support, I was like, well, I can't really choose between playing SwordSoul, Tenyi, or SwordSoul, Ryuji, so I'm going to put them all together and see how it works. Ironically as well, you could very easily play a Tenyi Ryuji kind of build if you wanted to. It would rely less on synchros because most of your Tenyis are like tuners. Well, I say most of them. You've got Adhara and you've got Sharuya, which are the tuners. So it gets it a little bit more difficult, but still really kind of cool. And I thought this combination was kind of something a bit more spicy, a bit more experimental to try out as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.